Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. This morning I'm looking at a really excellent book which has come to us from Edward Elgar Publishing Limited, a family independent set of publishers in Cheltenham. This book is one of a very high standard and high quality series of research books, and the title of this one is The Search for Environmental Justice. So we've got two big aspects here. We've got the legal stuff and we've got the environment stuff, all together to make it as simple as possible. Been written by a lot of people. I'll name them. I hope I get the names correct in terms of pronunciation. Paul Martin, that's the easy one. Sadiq Bigdali, Trevor Daya Winterbottom, Wilhelmine Duplessis and Amanda Kennedy. This book is actually also available in ebook and also online at the Elgar Online site, and the information is contained in the book itself. And it's part of the IUCN Academy of Environmental Law series of books. My wife Elizabeth and I talked about this book because we thought it was a very interesting area to look at in 2015. We gave a title of our review this: For International Environmental Lawyers, Trans-Pacific Perspectives on Environmental Justice. Now, the reason we're talking about that is because the environment affects everyone. So it's global. It's not just local to borders, the way some people would have you believe. This is the book. It's a hardback. There we go. Spine. And then on the back there are some quotes and there's some detail. A little bit of information about the editors. But what we've got in the book itself, we'll start at the back. Nice index, and it's done on page numbering, so it makes it a bit easier to find. Then we get into the actual book itself. There is a bibliography, or in fact references at the end of each chapter. There are some figures as well which one can see, and there are of course actual footnotes, quite substantial ones as well in places. There is subheading, but there are no paragraph numbers as such, and you can see even at the end of each of these chapters the references. That's dealing with a consensus federalism and freshwater regulation. You can see a huge amount of learned work has gone into this book, which is to be expected from every publication we review from Elgar. There's the front page, and that's the series. This is part of a series of books called the IUCN Academy of Environmental Law series. Now, the book itself, after that, the details, if you want to look at it online, are contained there. Then you've got the various parts, the contents, the various parts. There are in fact 4 parts in total, 18 chapters, then an index at the back. You've got a large number of contributors because the people who've edited this have brought all these people together. Alas, I cannot mention all of them by name. Some of them will be known to you, very eminent people in their own academic fields, and it's wonderful to have this information. There is a preface which sets out very shortly what the book is about. Then we go straight into the search for environmental justice and an introduction from the editors, framing the search, and then we go on from there, setting out how they're doing it, rights-based conceptualizations. I'm afraid there are rather a lot of words in this book which are what I would possibly describe as modern words, in that probably they make some of them up. I wouldn't be surprised because some of them I don't know. You've got to then try to work out what you think the meaning of some of the words are on the basis of what they're putting forward. No disrespect to the authors and the contributors, but clarity does help, and sometimes if they use very complex, very long words, I sometimes wonder whether in fact that has as much validity, or does it actually scare people off? Just a thought. Now, what about the book? Because I like the book. I thought it was very interesting. The focus of the book then, which has been published recently by Elgar, is basically on the evolving jurisprudence within environmental justice as a discipline, and the variety of subtopics which that discipline engenders. As instances of environmental harms relentlessly increase worldwide, it's become evident, hasn't it, unfortunately, that regulatory mechanisms within nation-state governance systems are often insufficiently effective. Quote, as a result, say the 5 editors, the ideal of environmental justice has become an important concern, quite right. This concern is certainly shared by the other 23 learned contributors to the book, which is distinguished by the enormous amount of research it contains. Environmental justice, in its many manifestations, is at least one answer to environmental problems of whatever kind. However, it's a term which can and does have a number of interpretations, one of which would relate to the specified legal principles and procedures involved and the resulting implications as well as applications. These are all issues of interest to lawyers as well as scholars in this field. Part 1 of the book considers such issues from a scholarly perspective, including commentary, that's to cite just one example, from the Honourable Justice Brian J. Preston, SC, both a judge and a professor at the University of Sydney. Now I think SC there means senior counsel. We don't have that description, as you know. In England and Wales and Scotland we have Queen's Counsel, but it equates. Such levels then of expertise from these established commentators are fairly typical of that on offer from the book's other contributors. Part 2 then focuses on human rights, which is inevitable, and the environment. Big issue, bit of a clash there. Then part 3, which is the lengthiest section actually of the book, concerns itself with the implementation of environmental justice across a range of territories, primarily in the Pacific region. And part 4, the final part, offers much commentary on the interests and rights of indigenous peoples, bearing in mind their special vulnerability. And again, I think that's terribly important. I say that from a perspective of being a barrister in England and Wales, but I'm well aware, having visited other countries, especially Canada, to see what has happened concerning indigenous peoples. So I do think I'm very pleased to see such a substantial amount of work put on in that area. The various chapters in this thought-provoking work of scholarship reflect the theme of the 11th IUCN Academy of International Law Colloquialism, which have been supported by the New Zealand Law Foundation. And without doubt, we think the book will definitely attract the attention of international lawyers, particularly environmental lawyers, as well as of researchers seeking a range of expert commentary on environmental issues, particularly from a trans-Pacific perspective. I mentioned Canada, I was thinking of West Coast Canada, Vancouver, and so forth, going both up and down. The publication date is cited as at 2015. I think it's interesting to bear in mind that the book, I'm recording this in 2015, I'm just wondering in 10 years' time what people will think of the value of this book, because what they're stating here is something we're going to have to be looking at much more carefully in the future. Here's the book anyway, just open it in the middle. International Environmental Governance in the Pacific Island Region. Here we go, you've got a very substantial amount of detail. You have a nice structure, you have the introduction, the meat of the particular contribution, lots of footnoting to justify everything, and then when you get to the back of it, you then have a very useful, you have a conclusion, which is just at the bottom there, then you have all the referencing material, and I'm just giving this as an example, so you've got some idea. Safe Harbour's closed borders, New Zealand legal and policy responses to climate displacement in the South Pacific. So you see, it's an important, very serious study. I'd like to thank all the editors, all the contributors for doing this work, this research. I think it's invaluable for the longer term future of the planet. I do feel that it's something which we should look at from an international perspective in the longer term, way after my time on this earth, I'm sure, but I'm hoping that at least they are pointing us in the right direction, because we, after all, as humans, must be controlling our environment. We can't control a lot of things, but there's a lot we can do. Thank you to all concerned and to Edward Elgar. It's great to maintain with such a high style of fluid works which are full of clarity and great help to us all. Bye-bye.